One thing you'll notice on this page, there's no investment returns. We're not showing any sort of investment returns, and it's irrelevant to this sort of resources claims analysis, which borrows from, the bucket strategy, it borrows from target risk, and it borrows from target date. But what it does for an individual is it boils it down to a simple picture on one page that says, am I going to be okay? And where am I at? It really gives you that snapshot in time. And the way this is constructed is very similar to what pension plans do on their own pool of assets for all the participants in the plan. However, you can do this, and this is what we do for our individual clients. You can take them and turn them into essentially a pension for themselves. And that's the idea of what Andres was saying earlier about the company used to do it, now you have to do it as far as planning your retirement. And the way this works, there's two columns here. One has resources, the other has claims in it. And the resources component of it, that's all your current assets, your current investments, plus above that are any future expected additions you expect to have. So for example, one future expected addition that mostly everybody will get is Social Security. That's an income stream you should have for life. The other one a lot of people have is some level of rental income. Some people have annuity income. Other people do still have the benefit of having a public pension or a pension plan where somebody else is making payments to them monthly. And those are expected additions. So you sum up all of your future additions and you bring them back into what we would consider today's dollars. What's the value of it today? Not what's it valued at in the future, but what's it at today? And you sum that with your current value of your investments, and you end up with a summary of your resource value. Next, you go to move on to looking at your spending needs. So this is a real tough exercise for individuals. But if you're a person that likes to budget and track and have an idea of what you're going to do, this is where the critical thinking falls onto the client to help us with the inputs here. And what we try to define here is what are the essential needs that you need to be meeting over a planning horizon, whether it's the 20-year, 30-year time horizon. And that number there, when you look at it, you go $5 million. This is a generic example, but if you're planning over a 30-year horizon and you start thinking about summing up the value of all the things you're going to have to spend money on over the next 25, 35 years, that number starts to look pretty big. It's sometimes daunting for people to evaluate. But what we like to do here is determine the essentials, things you can't sacrifice. That in this kind of an environment, you still have to pay, whether it's your rent, your mortgage, your food, your medical costs, things like that. You're going to have to continue paying them. Versus the desired spending, things like big vacations, or I want to give my kids X amount of money, per year as a gifting strategy, or things like that. That would go into desired. And what we do with this now is we take the resource number and we take the claim number and we divide them. So you take resources and you put them over claims, and what you end up with is that big percentage at the top of the page. And what that answers for you at a moment in time is how well funded am I without having to take into account any sort of market returns, forward-looking, future returns, anything like that. It's just where am I today relative to all the things that I have to meet in the future, and can I be there? And once you have that sort of number, you can start to figure out if I'm pretty well funded, I can probably take a little extra risk if I want to, but I don't need to. So my portfolio composition could be different. If your number is not 100%, don't jump out the window, because there are levers here that we help clients pull to understand what their choices are. Some choices are if the client does not have the tolerance and does not have the ability to bear risks, like owning more stocks than they otherwise would want to, we would probably go over into the desired spending bucket or the essential spending bucket and say, what can we cut down here to kind of make sure that you're going to be okay and not run out of money? Now, other clients may say, well, my desired spending is my essential. I have to take that vacation. I have to do this. This is what I want to do. Then we'll talk with them. Well, hey, if you're not willing to cut there, what you have a choice to do, and I'm not saying everybody should do this, but what you may have the choice to do is bear more risk and recognize that the markets are going to dictate more of your future the long way out. And you're going to have to bear market risk to get higher rates of return in order to meet these goals or potentially meet these goals. You have a chance of failing, though, because you're depending on the market to do this for you. So these are levers you can pull. And I'd encourage you, that's what working with advisors is for, is that they help you troubleshoot these problems and get you on the right path. One of the things that I heard early career starting out in the financial planning and investment profession was typically you'd hear this saying, hey, if my age is, and I'll just pick a number, age 80, then 80% of my portfolio should be in bonds. That probably used to work from a risk tolerance standpoint. The problem is for a planning perspective, the 80-year-old now may have the potential to go another 20 years, if not maybe a little bit longer with higher healthcare costs and things like that. So that 80% fixed income portfolio, if you ran through this scenario here, may not be able to meet those goals for that specific client. So what we've really done is tried to take some of the traditional components and take the benefits of them here and be able to turn them into an analysis that tells you, here's why I'm investing the way that I am, here's why I'm taking the risks that I am, and here are the choices I have to make sure that I can hit that question at the end of the day of, am I going to be okay?